Welcome to What She Said Sports. It is Friday night. Yay! We made it to the end of the week. Yes, 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 yes. Awesome. So we had a wonderful week. I hope y'all did too. Um, and tonight we are presenting you with an episode about Vince Young, his NFL experience. I've been doing some research, got some really good information. Um, he spent most of his time with the Titans. So we're going to talk about that. And I already saw some similarities with Shedeur Sanders' journey um, in the NFL draft and, you know, Cleveland. So we're going to talk about that as well. Now, before we get into that, I want to make sure everybody's doing good. We give everybody a chance to join us. Hey, Charlotte, how you doing? How you doing? Um, but technically I had my head down and buried into this research about Vince Young, and it was very interesting what I learned. And honestly, it just kind of feeds into a lot of things that we were kind of talking about already. How Black NFL quarterbacks have a very, very tough road. And something that jumped out at me about Vince Young's time in the NFL, in particular, the Titans, the way the draft went, is all of the turmoil with the Titans. And essentially, he started out at UT, and as of right now, he's back at UT. No issues whatsoever. So it seems like the way he came in the NFL as a favorite of who? It was a forced marriage. That's the term used. Vince Young to Tennessee was forced on everybody. The owner, Bud Adams, called the audible and said, "I don't give a damn what y'all think. Draft him." Who does that sound like? Shedeur Sanders. Now, we don't really believe that the owner made that call, but it came from somewhere eventually to the owner. And it's kind of starting out that way for Shedeur, meaning you saw the looks on their faces in the green rooms when they drafted Shedeur. They look like, oh Lord, right? And when you go into a situation like that, it's not the best. We talked about that, how they were condescending, they weren't really welcoming. They were saying a lot comes with them, this, that, and the other. But we also talked about what? How they're walking things back, right? So when it comes to Vince Young, who was a star in college, the Rose Bowl legend, who people really thought Vince Young would be the transformative QB to revolutionize the position. He was a dual threat quarterback. But see, here's the problem. Although the owner wanted him in Tennessee and the Houston Texans passed, which was crazy because Vince Young was from Houston. He balled out right there at UT. And then the Texans passed on him. But the franchise that was before the Texans, the Oilers, the Titans, became the Titans, drafted him to Nashville. After who? Steve McNair, who became his mentor. And I looked for a pattern to try to establish, was there a trigger that maybe triggered some of this behavior? And that was like day before yesterday and then yesterday. So today I had to do another deep dive. And I said, oh, I get it. And the R word came up when it came to Jeff Fisher, the head coach. So thank y'all for suggesting Vince Young. A lot of people have always said, different people of different backgrounds, walks of life, that Jeff Fisher was a problem. So of course I decided, let me study this coach. Let me see, some of the issues that he had. And unfortunately, he didn't want Vince Young. He wanted what he called a pure pocket passer. He wanted his alum, Matt Leinart. He wanted a quarterback to stand in the pocket and throw the ball at a time where Michael Vick had already come along. So that meant that the Titans were slow to change in terms of Jeff Fisher and his system. So what did they try to do? Similar to what I heard happened to Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, because they didn't want that pocket passer either. Remember, they called it a pocket quarterback's the dual threat curse, that Lamar Jackson suffered from the dual threat curse of Deshaun Watson, but Vince Young and Michael Vick were before them. So Jeff Fisher seemed slow to change, wanting what he called a pro-style quarterback. if you say you want a pro-style quarterback and you don't see Vince Young as a pro-style quarterback in the pros, you are essentially saying he's not a pro. That's what you're saying. It's like he couldn't use the word, I don't want a dual threat quarterback, as if a dual threat quarterback wasn't a pro-style quarterback. And the funny thing is, we were just talking about this. Now, it shows you how some things never change, or maybe they do. Shedeur Sanders was technically called what? Oh, he's a classic pocket passer. Like his skills are outdated. But Vince Young was snubbed by his own head coach because he was a dual threat. So what do you want? And it has nothing to do with pocket passer or anything to do with dual threat quarterback. It's because Vince Young, just like Shedeur, wasn't their preference. They felt he was forced on them. The owner loved him, but the team seemed to hate him. His OC called him spoiled and pampered. What does that sound like? A 2005 or 2006 version of entitled? You see how that word keeps getting used? We don't hear it used to white QBs. We do hear it used to black QBs. So the more I dug and got information, I learned that what they present Vince Young on the surface as is not reality. Yeah, he was immature. I will give you that, because it's not shocking that anybody that comes in the league after winning the Rose Bowl and being a legend and a transformative QB, which sounds like who? Who do we know that's a transformative QB that was forced somewhere? And they said that was a marriage doomed to fail. So I'm happy to hear Kevin Stefanski, whether I side-eyed or not, speaking positively about Shedeur, but I hope people aren't treating him like they're treating Vince Young. We didn't want you. The owner did. You see what I'm saying? So there's already a glaring similarity. But just like Shedeur, the way he was presented to people that don't know him, maybe the way they kept saying it, you would think he was spoiled and pampered, aka entitled, which is what they said about Vince Young. Now, the difference between Shedeur and Vince Young is, what is Shedeur's nickname? Grown. Vince Young admitted he was immature. It's not believable. We still refer to these first-year, second-year QBs as kids, especially in college, when they really are over the 18. But we still refer to them as kids because we all understand developmentally they are young. But Shedeur has been grown. That has been his nickname since he was little. He's that rare person that was mature for his age. Everybody else is not like that. So it does seem that Jeff Fisher did a lot of things. He tried to make Vince Young look mentally unstable. When that didn't work, he tried to bench him. Actually, he tried to bench him first, and then when his other quarterback wasn't good, he had to put Vince Young back in. Then when he got Vince Young back in, he tried to say he was mentally unstable by calling the police and saying he was suicidal, when it turns out that Vince Young was at his house, at a friend's house, eating wings. His Sports Illustrated interview says that I got to walk around in the airport and everybody's seeing me, because he became larger than life, especially in Texas. He's from Houston. He played ball in Austin. I don't think Austin is 2.5 hours from Houston. So in Texas, he was huge. People were upset that the Texans did not take him. They didn't think he would develop into a pro quarterback. But then he gets forced to Nashville with Jeff Fisher, who don't want him. So Jeff Fisher basically showed he doesn't want him. And he didn't know how to handle it. He even said it in a Sports Illustrated article, he's making me look mentally unstable, and now I have to deal with that reputation. That's wrong. And it might explain why Jeff Fisher got fired in 2011 from Nashville after being there 16 years of feud and the constant bickering. He was supposed to be the adult. This is a young man, but he didn't want him. See, when somebody forces somebody on you, sometimes you just mistreat them because that's not what I want. He also, Jeff Fisher, wanted his son to be on the coaching staff, and the owner told him no. He wasn't happy about that. So he wanted his own way, and he didn't give a damn. So sound like he was arrogant. He sound arrogant and like a jackass. That's just what it sounds like. You don't know how to deal with a 21-year-old coming out of college who's a superstar? You don't realize that 21-year-olds can be immature, and it is on the record. Vince Young was right when he said he singled me out because other people were acting a certain way and it was not a problem. Hat to the back. Sound familiar? Cocky. See, Vince Young came out of school at a time where the NFL had a problem. Some teams had a problem having a black quarterback, and they definitely didn't like the dual threat quarterback ever since Michael Vick. And some people think that that's why what happened to Michael Vick happened to Michael Vick, because we see how they go through great lengths to protect people that look like the owners. Brett Favre actually is in the Hall of Fame after sexual harassment. Now he up for welfare fraud. That's twice. Ben Roethlisberger settled one civil case. Then there was another one. Then they finally decided to do what? Suspend him. So they protected him too. And they protected him even with the suspension with 4 games. Something they did for cannabis when we talking about violence against women. Because they didn't want to punish him. They just want the optics, which is what I keep telling people who keep saying to me that it couldn't have been racism and discrimination with Shedeur Sanders in the draft because Cam Ward went first. I'm like, optics. That is an old trick. You hire one black person, we not racist. Having one black friend does not mean you're not racist. And we all know that. Optics. Just like Ben Roethlisberger, not the first time he settled that lawsuit, there was no investigation. There was no suspension. The second time, suspended only for 4 games. Just like Tom Brady, suspended for 4 games for, I guess, Deflategate. And then they repealed the suspension. Optics. And there's a pattern of history with optics to protect people that are their preference in the NFL. But somehow, the black quarterbacks get the book thrown at them the very first time. Whereas Brett Favre is in the Hall of Fame. You should not be in the Hall of Fame after sexual harassment charges. You should not. And that is why there's a documentary coming out about him right now on Netflix. And the lady that turned him in for what he was sending her, she's in that documentary too. So Vince Young came at a time where too many NFL teams were fighting the dual threat quarterback like Michael Vick. In fact, Michael Vick and Vince Young ended up on the same team in Philadelphia, which meant it was after Michael Vick had to go away for 23 months. Now, he admitted he got more time than he probably should have because he failed his pretrial drug test. So what I'm saying is, while black quarterbacks do mess up and get in trouble, they get the book thrown at them. They don't get any benefit of the doubt, and nobody's out here trying to protect them to make sure that their family is intact, that they don't lose everything they have, and their reputation is not smeared. But with Justin Tucker, that's what we saw. And we saw the exact opposite with Deshaun Watson. And what year is this? 22, 23, 24, and 25. Vince Young came out much earlier in 2006 where the climate was a lot different. There was no social justice. You got in where you fit in. You had to go to college. You had to get a degree to be seen. And you still had people above you that were what? Less qualified and less educated because they were the what? Preference. The NFL was full of nepotism. It's just Jeff Fisher thought he could get his son on a team, but it was the owner who said no. He could have went somewhere else with it and did it. So while they're all franchises, the rules don't all seem to be the same. Some allow nepotism, some don't. And Jeff Fisher, years later, received an apology, supposedly from Vince Young. And you know what he said? When he saw the envelope, he said it was from the University of Texas, so I just didn't even open it. Now, he know Vince Young went to University of Texas. Vince Young said in his interview, he never responded. You know why he didn't respond? Because it said it was the University of Texas and it was from him, but I didn't believe it. So that tells you he was problematic right there. You're supposed to be grown. He coming to you as a man apologizing for his immaturity, and you see how he acted? That's how you know he was the problem. He too arrogant. He didn't want to get along with Vince Young. He tried to take a dual threat quarterback that had just won the Rose Bowl, who the owner wanted, and turn him into a pocket passer. That's how much they disliked dual threat quarterbacks, so much so that they said it was a curse going around. I wonder if Michael Vick suffered from the curse of dual threat quarterbacks. That's what we called him, but there were mobile quarterbacks before him. I did my research. So to me, Vince Young experienced several things. I'm going to read from something. It is said that he wrote in the Players Tribune about himself. Because if anybody else had this firsthand information, I don't know how. So it seems like he wrote this. It is very telling that at some point there were clinical depression happening. And I also did my research because who was his mentor? His mentor was booted out when he got there. Steve McNair. And people said Jeff Fisher turned Steve McNair into handoff McNair. He didn't want him to throw the ball either. See, Jeff Fisher sounded like he got a problem. But a lot of teams did. A lot of these coaches did. And they made these guys' lives hell. So essentially, Vince Young and our journey to study these quarterbacks and their NFL experiences and how they were treated and mistreated in a lot of cases and publicly humiliated. Vince Young, them calling the police and saying he mentally unstable was to humiliate him. And then you're going to hang this reputation on him. He said that he missed an MRI. That's it. He missed an MRI. And they thought he was suicidal. It sounds like Jeff Fisher likes to play get back. He gonna get his lick back. And you know, after when Vince Young left one of the games, the next thing you know, he don't go to get the MRI. The next thing you know, he mentally unstable, and that's hanging around his neck. What is that supposed to do? The same thing it was supposed to do with Shedeur when they said he was entitled and cocky. Make teams move away from him. But the difference between Shedeur and Vince is that Shedeur was going through the draft to get to the league. This is what happened to Vince in the league. But what I didn't understand is if the owner wanted Vince Young so much, to the point where it was said Vince Young was the only person on the team that had the owner's phone number. Maybe that's where the spoiled and pampered, which is nothing but entitled, come from. Why didn't the owner protect Vince Young from Jeff Fisher instead of waiting till everything blow up and then firing Jeff Fisher in 2011? He knew, he had to know as an owner that you went and got a Rose Bowl dual threat quarterback who's supposed to revolutionize or evolutionize the QB position, but you let this dude right here, Jeff Fisher, try to turn him into a pocket passer because he's not ready to get with the modern era. Why didn't the owner protect Vince Young? If Vince Young was the only person on the team that had his number, he really cared about it. He wanted to win with him. Why would you allow Jeff Fisher to break him down like that? So, yeah, that's why he got fired in 2011. They said it was a mutual parting of the ways. I'm sure it was. We gonna fire you, so we might as well just go head on, and you need to say you leaving because we don't like how you treat Vince Young. But that went on for far too long. That was 2011. Vince Young got there in what, 2006? That's 5 years of torture. Vince Young saying out loud, I knew he did that shit on purpose about putting that mentally unstable label around his neck, just like they did Shedeur. But see, they doing it anonymously now in 2025. That's why they're doing it anonymously, because they know what happened to Jeff Fisher. And they want to keep their job and defame people. But that's okay, because there are remedies for that. But I still don't understand why the owner would go through the trouble to call an audible and tell his GMs and executives, I'm drafting Vince Young. He the only one got my phone number. And just sit there quietly while they try to break him apart. And no, he didn't know how to handle it. He said he singled me out. He sure did. Racism. Because it says it in one R. It uses the R word. People saying Jeff Fisher was racist. His behavior, his techniques, and his tactics against Vince Young when other people were having similar issues. He didn't act that way. Racism. So Vince Young goes on our timeline list. of discrimination against Black NFL quarterbacks. And the more dual threat they are, at that time, the worse it got. I don't even know what year Deshaun Watson was drafted, but if Lamar Jackson suffered from the curse of Deshaun Watson, what the hell did Deshaun Watson suffer from the curse of? Because look at how Vince Young was treated. This 2006, 2007, 2008. And then they got rid of Jeff Fisher. And then they got rid of Vince Young. Then he started his cycle. See, Vince Young didn't know how to deal with everything that was happening for several reasons. One, I'm young. Yes, I'm immature. But then I'm out here dealing with some systemic shit. And I don't even know that that's what it is, but I know I ain't right. I know I'm being singled out. And it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with. Racism is actually, depending on where you are, mental health, it can cause health problems because of the stress. Yes, he probably was clinically depressed, because why in the hell, if you knew that I was a dual threat quarterback in the Rose Bowl, did y'all go through all the trouble to get me, bring me here, give me the owner's number, but then for years y'all torture me and try to break me into a damn pocket passer? That's malpractice. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is. They knew what he was. And if the owner gave him his damn number, then why didn't he step in sooner? Why did they allow Jeff Fisher to paint Vince Young as problematic? Of course, anywhere he went, if he even breathed wrong, oh, he got to go. He never made it past preseason. They all wanted to benefit from his skill set, but they didn't know how to deal with him because their minds had been tainted, just like Shedeur in the damn draft. What did Mike Tomlin say? There were these phone calls, and we had to listen to these phone calls. That's tainting people's reputation. That's defamation. That's making them look like they're problematic so you won't touch them. And it was already said in the NFL when one team that they supposed to go to pass everybody back up. Collusion. That's not right, but that's what they do to people they don't like. So how much did the owner really like Vince Young? Or did they get him with the whole purpose of sending him to a team who was a pocket passer to initially break him down and have fun watching? Because how? They said he wasn't looked at like a human. He was looked at like an investment. So why would you allow somebody to tarnish and break your investment? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. You tell everybody, I'm going to draft him. To hell with what y'all want to do. Cleveland and Shedeur. And you see how they started in on him. There's a lot of similarities here. These guys getting singled out. These teams, I don't want you anyway. People running around, tainting their personalities, their reputations, making their lives hard and having to prove themselves over and over and over. They got to be perfect. Because what they pampered, they're spoiled, entitled. It's the same shit. So Vince Young goes into our timeline. So when we talk about Shedeur Sanders or Caleb Williams or Michael Penix Jr. or CJ Stroud, hell, probably Anthony Richardson too, we shall see this year. Then we go to Lamar Jackson. Then we go to Deshaun Watson. And before we get to Michael Vick, we got Vince Young. But then we got Tyrod Taylor and Geno Smith. And then we got Russell Wilson. You see how the timeline is starting to fill up? How these guys are all treated the same way. Public humiliation is the tactic. And I asked for this draft when this was happening in Shedeur. He was being torn apart. I talked about this. It's documented. It's on Instagram, and I probably got a screenshot of my phone. Why does the NFL, under the NFL page, why does the NFL allow the media to tear down and anonymous sources from within the NFL to tarnish and tear down and defame its NFL draft prospects? Maybe we got to get the answer as to why the owner of the Titans allowed Jeff Fisher to try to break a proven champion and Vince Young, who was a dual threat quarterback, supposed to change the position, but he goes to a team that's got pocket passes and a coach that refuses to update his playing style. He didn't build the Titans around Vince Young. He just wanted to bench Vince Young quick as possible so he could keep doing his pure pocket passer thing because he didn't want to update. He had been there 16 years. I don't want to change nothing. Why I got to change? They should have got another coach when they got Vince Young. Or they should have told Jeff Fisher, you're going to change this system or you're going to get the hell out. But they did not protect Vince Young. So, yeah, he spiraled. But that's on the Titans. That's on the ownership. They knew what he was when he won the Rose Bowl. And that tells me why he's right now back in Texas, in Austin, with the Longhorns on their staff. He goes to the practices, the coaches, the games. He has a steakhouse. This was a young man, and they were treating him like an investment and not a human being. So I looked to see after Steve McNair died, since Steve McNair referred to him as son, it said, yes, he suffered. He suffered after Steve McNair died. And what I'm getting ready to read to you tells you Steve McNair's death was a trigger for all of the death that he experienced as a child. The way he grew up, it's amazing he's still alive. People paying him $100 to go beat up people because he was a big size person. His mom was strung out, but she eventually got it together. People breaking in the door, shooting from outside the house. People banging the door to the point he got to protect the women in the house. It's blood all over the floor. It's his sister's boyfriend coming to the door, blood dripping throughout the house. He dead right there in his face. He was 11. So I'm going to read some of this, but this case study reveals to me that the same thing, the public humiliation, the tactics that they use to try to break these quarterbacks, the not protecting them. This is why I say y'all need to side-eye Cleveland. You see, it started out the same way, a forced marriage. They didn't want Shedeur, and they made it known with their faces. And when he got there and his welcome call was condescending, they made it known that they didn't want him, and they used those defamatory statements to treat him like he wasn't worth anything. And they tried to devalue him by saying he's a pure pocket passer, he's a classic retro passer, and we want a mobile QB. Make up your goddamn mind. Because you don't act like you want Lamar Jackson, and he's damn sure a mobile QB. You didn't draft Jalen Milroe, who's a comp to Michael Vick, and Lamar Jackson. You didn't draft him. So this ain't about Shedeur's skill set. This is about black quarterbacks. And Vince Young's story proves it. So we get ready to read what went on with Vince Young in terms of what was written. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me a minute. And I will share my screen. Oh, let's see. Okay, 1 second. So yeah, they failing these guys. That's what they're doing. They're failing them. All right, y'all let me know when y'all can see my screen. Okay, this is where it starts. I'm going to put the monitor so I can look at a monitor. They failing these guys. That's why we watching Cleveland. And Vince Young's story started out like Shedeur's being forced to Cleveland and how they treated him when they got there. Yeah, we definitely going to be watching. We definitely going to be watching. Because I'll be damned if they try to break Shedeur Sanders. And yes, Shedeur might be more mature at the time, but that doesn't mean it's right for them to try to make his life hell and for ownership to stand back after they forced him there. Now, we're not going to be okay with that. That's why a lawsuit's not enough. It's just not. The more you learn, it's not enough. It's not enough at all. So, all right, let's get into this. Oh, 1 second. All right. Okay. I can see myself, so I know that y'all can see me and you can hear me. Okay. So here we go. It said, what the hell happened to Vince Young? Now, see right here, it says Vince Young retired NFL February 5th, 2020. But this is written in a first person form. You would actually have to have some damn good insight into a person's brain to write this. So it seems that they're saying Vince Young wrote this. If you know, drop the information in the chat. It said this story is not about Vince Young. You already know that story. I told it a million times. First person. It says Vince Young is the guy who walks into the huddle at the Rose Bowl, 4th and 5th, everything on the line. Whole dang country watching. All 10 guys in the huddle looking him dead in his eyes. Like, what's the temperature of VY right now? What's his vibe? Is he nervous? And honestly, VY is scared as shit. But he can't be showing it. Vince Young is the guy who looks at them dudes in that moment, the biggest moment of all their lives, and says, let your hang. Let it all hang. This story is not about Vince Young. Vince Young is the dude who took the shotgun snap, hook left, looked left, looked right, and saw the seas part. Run, Forrest, run. Like we in the sand lot. Touchdown. Jump over the cameraman. National champion. Whirlwind. BET, MTV, Jay Leno, agents, managers, managers on managers. Whole life changes. Lord, I have mercy. Lord, have mercy. Did it change? But I'm telling you now, this story is not about Vince Young. Vince Young is the guy who gets on a plane to Las Vegas the day after the Rose Bowl, walks through the lobby of the MGM Grand, gets escorted to the secret elevator, to the secret floor, to the super secret ballers room. I'm talking the super secret icons suite, the kind of thing you only see in the movies. And he sees some dude eating a plate of food in the corner. It's Tiger Woods. Another dude is sitting on the couch just chilling. It's Derek Jeter. Later on, another dude comes by. It's MJ. It's Michael Jordan. Mike, it's the GOAT in the flesh, really there. And all of these guys actually come over to Vince Young in the super secret VIP suite, the kind of room you only see in the movies, wanting to talk to him. Tiger says, fantastic game, Vince. Fantastic. Jeter says, phenomenal job, young man. Eyes so pretty, they make you want to cry. Walking and talking like Jeter, really there. Just a phenomenal job. Then MJ says, we were all at the game, Vince. We were all there. Like it's a dream. Like maybe Vince Young died or something. And this is really heaven. You were all at the game? MJ says, oh, yeah, young fella. We were all there watching you. And then MJ wipes the smile off his face and says, now, why are my people telling me that you don't want to sign with Jordan Brand? Reebok, Vince? Reebok? Shit. But this is your last warning, all right? This story is not about Vince Young. This is about Bubba. This is about the baby boy. This is about Vincent. You never heard this one before. It says, Mama was strung out. Let's get that out of the way right now. And let's also acknowledge that my mama is a beautiful woman and the rock of our family. And somebody who beat those demons. Somebody who has been sober for 20 plus years. Round of applause for my mama. But to appreciate the fight, we got to appreciate the light. We got to acknowledge the darkness. And when I was a kid, I saw a whole lot of things a kid shouldn't see. X, Rugs, drinking, hootings, abbings, you name it. 10 or 11 years old, somebody banging on our front door. Banging. My mama opens the door and the guy falls right into our living room, bleeding to death, shot 4 or 5 times, blood everywhere. My sister's boyfriend. Regular everyday life. So I started sleeping by the front door. I used to put a wooden pallet down on the floor and just doze off. If anybody came, I knew what I had to do to protect the women of the house. My dad wasn't around, so what was I supposed to do? I got my mama, my grandmother, and 2 sisters in there. Nothing else to do. I had to protect them. My uncle was strung out too. 12 years old, he stole something from somebody. They start chasing after him, shooting. So, where does he think to run? He runs into our house and slams the door. What they do? They start shooting rounds right into the house. I'm peeking out the window of my bedroom, and the dudes are standing right in front in our front yard. I remember thinking maybe if I go out there and I let them get me first, at least my sisters could get away. They ran out of bullets, I guess. They left. You don't have time to think when it's going down. You're just a kid. You're just in shock. Then it's over. And you don't ask why. Ain't nobody to ask but God. Welcome to Houston. So that's how his life starts out until he's what? 10. That's how his life starts until he's 10 years old. And, that's just kind of sad. That's just kind of sad. And it seems like he wrote this. So we're going to keep on. So now you have a picture of the very gritty environment that he grew up in. And that's a lot of trauma for somebody that's young. And when you get older and you experience the trauma like that of somebody that called you son when your daddy wasn't around when you were young, it can be triggering. And they need compassion, not to be treated like an investment. Let's continue. So this Vince Young and his mom. It says, there was a time when I was trying to be hard. In middle school, I wasn't acting right. It was my way of dealing with the situation. I wasn't selling drugs. I wasn't in the streets like that, but I was just drifting. All I saw was people getting shot, people going to jail. What am I supposed to do? Can't be soft. Hey, go beat this person up. I'll give you $100. Sound pretty good when you're hungry. But even back then, people saw potential in me as an athlete. Even when I was around that stuff, people were always telling me, Vince, take your ass home, man. We got this. But I couldn't see a way out, really. In fact, I still don't think you're getting it. 13 years old, spring break coming up. These two gangs had it all set up. The Browns and the 6 9s. I think it was. I don't even know why, but it was about to pop off at lunch. Everybody knew it. Back in the day, you didn't need no excuse. The games were crazy back then, even in middle school. Not just the real games, but everybody, cliques, teams, whatever. Everybody was about to fight. Girls, boys, everybody. I'm talking Royal Rumble. So everybody gets to the cafeteria during the lunch period, and a couple of minutes go by. People are getting their lunch trays, and it goes down. Somebody throws a chair. Dick Dowling Middle School was a war zone, bro. Look, I don't know what fights were like at your middle school, but I'm telling you, it wasn't like this. Whatever little BS food fight you got in your mind, turn the volume up to 100. It was people getting their ass whooped. Chairs, tables, trays, blood on the floor, people slipping on the blood, dudes knocking over the vending machines, throwing soda cans, taking the money out, teachers throwing punches, security guards throwing punches, fire alarms going off, police sirens, just chaos. Man, somebody set a teacher dress on fire. On fire. Chairs, tables, trays, blood on the floor, people slipping on the blood. She was running down the hallway with her dress on fire, screaming for the fire extinguisher. I'm talking chaos. Not one of them stories you tell when you with your boys, laughing about it. I'm talking scary, scary, scary. When you're in the middle of a war, what can you do? You go to war. So I went to war on some dudes I didn't like. When the cops showed up, they started putting people in handcuffs. They weren't playing. I got cuffed. They took us over to this little holding area and started questioning us. Then finally, they say, okay, that's enough. We're calling all y'all moms. I'm thinking, oh shit. Whatever clique you have in your mind about, whatever cliche you have in your mind about my mother, that wasn't her. No matter how much partying she did the night before, she'd wake us up at 6 a.m., pick my grandmother up from her graveyard shift, and then drive us to school every morning. She never missed. Sometimes I would look at her like, how in the hell in the world are you still standing? She was a woman who had her demons, but she loved her babies more than anything, and she wanted them doing right, doing good. So when they had me cuffed, I wasn't scared of going to jail. I was scared of the police. I wasn't scared of the police. I was scared of my mama. So she finally gets to the school and she sees me sitting there in the cuffs, and I'm thinking she's about to beat my ass in front of everybody. But she just turns to the cops and says, take my son out of those handcuffs. I deal with him. And they listen. Think about that for a second. They uncuffed my ass. They knew she was the law, man. We went out and got into her car, and that was the moment that changed my life. She all but disowned me right there. She didn't sugarcoat it. She said, son, let me tell you something. Your ass is going to end up dead, crippled, or in jail if you keep living this lifestyle. That life was all I was seeing around me, though. In the moment when she said it, I kind of brushed it off. It didn't sink in right away. So we got home and she gave me the whipping of my life. And then she gave me my real punishment. I had to rake up the leaves in our front yard every day that I was suspended from school. It don't sound bad, I know, but we had this big oak tree out there and it was the fall. So it was like an all-day job. One day I was out there raking and my school bus came rolling down the street and all the windows were down. All my homeboys hanging out the windows, waving and laughing at me. All the girls hanging out the windows, pointing at me. I'll never forget somebody yelling, aha, Vince got to do the leaves. Man, the way kids say, aha, you know what I'm talking about. Everybody laughing. I don't know why, but that messed me up. I was humiliated. I just felt like, I don't know. I'm never going to be anything. I'm never getting us out of here, you know? That's actually when my mom's words hit me. I thought about that conversation in the car. I thought about everything she was going through. I thought about all the shit I was seeing in my neighborhood. And for whatever reason, I was like, okay, I get it. I have to make a change. Let's try something different. As a 36-year-old man, it sounds like nothing. Sounds simple, don't it? When you're a 13-year-old kid growing up in the environment I was in, it's not so simple. It's more like a effing revolution, man. Let's try something different. Football. It said, here's the thing about football, man. Oh, this is a picture of him. Look like, I guess, where he used to practice, but he must have accepted to UT because he got the hat right there. And he looks pretty young and high schoolish, and that's his high school jersey. See the rusted out equipment? Here's the thing about football, man. I don't know how it is for everybody else. I don't know what they felt like when they put on that helmet, when they put that helmet on in high school and they ran out onto the field. I don't know. I don't know. Hold on one second. I don't know if they were nervous or scared or excited or if they felt nothing at all. But for me, bro, when I put on that helmet, when I was with my boys, when I crossed them white lines, when I had the ball in my hands, when I was scoring touchdowns, it was the funniest shit ever, bro. At home, I'm eating syrup sandwiches. I'm seeing my friends get shot. I'm seeing my uncle so high, he just stuttering. I'm seeing nothing but real life. But when I crossed them white lines, that was my playground. That was my time to forget about all the stress I was dealing with and just have fun. Sometimes people call football an escape. I looked at it a little differently. That football field, it was almost like my dormitory. That was mine. It was my room. I lived there, fully effing furnished. Everything was exactly how I wanted it. It says, when I cross them white lines, I'm not poor. My mom's not strung out. Our lights aren't getting cut off. I'm not Vincent raking up them leaves. I'm VY. I'm Vince MFN Young. And guess who's laughing now? That was the blessing of football, not just for me, but for all of us. But there's still something missing for me. I didn't have a dad at my games like some kids. You know what I mean? I always had the women of the family for sure. That's who I looked up to see in the stands after every touchdown. And that was cool, but I was missing that father figure. 16 years old, I get invited to Steve McNair's football camp. And that's Steve McNair, where I'm from, for the record. When we think of Steve McNair, the Tennessee Titans aren't the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is Steven is in that all-white Houston Oilers uniform, baby blue, number 9, looking like $1,000,000, running wild in the Astrodome. That's Steve McNair, Houston legend, man. So when I got the invitation to his camp, I was hyped. But there was like 50 other QBs at that camp. And I'm thinking, all right, how can I say what's up to Steve? Like really say what's up. Camp starts and Steve come over to say hello to me or whatever. I'm like, Steve, man, it's an honor. I was there that day. You first played in the Astrodome. He was like, for real? I said, yeah. I snuck in through a side door with my boys. He thought that was funny. So I told him the whole story. The rodeo is huge in Houston, right? Well, I used to work at the concession stand in the Astrodome selling turkey legs during the carnival. When you're doing that job, you and your boys know all the side doors, all the loading docks, the exits, everything. So one day we put that knowledge to good use. It wasn't mission impossible. It was easy, man. Loading door pops open, delivery boys in the building, baby. Fresh bread. Bang. We in there. Oilers versus Lions. I think it was. Then, of course, you got to go seat surfing because you don't have tickets. Upper decks are obviously the best, but eventually you're going to get caught. That's just part of it. Excuse me, son. Can I see your goodbye? You're already running to section 600, bro. By the time they're on their walkie-talkie, you're moving again. I wildly remember, and I don't know if it really went down like this. And honestly, I don't care because it's this way in my mind. I remember running from security through the concession area and hearing coming into the game for the Oilers at quarterback, number 9, Steve McNair. We spent the whole game playing hide and seek in the Astrodome. I told Steve that story and how I used to always watch him on our raggedy TV with the tinfoil for the antenna. Could barely make out anything other than the baby blue number 9 running around like crazy. Steve McNair became like a father to me. I don't know why. Couldn't tell you what he saw in me. Maybe he saw himself, but he completely took me under his wing. There was no ulterior motive. No, nothing. It's still crazy for me to think about it. So Steve McNair became like a father to him and referred to him as son. He was 16. Steve was my hero before he became my pops. When I was coming up through high school, getting all this attention, all of a sudden, I could always call him up. Pops, what do you think? What should I do? At any time, day or night, Pops would answer. In the off season, whenever he was in town, I was like his designated credit card swiper. At the mall, at the restaurant, at events, it was always give the bill to my son. Oh, you want some shoes? You want a fresh t-shirt? Go talk to my son. I was like his right hand. Steve would take care of everybody, man. I got to see what he was living. I got a front row seat to a different life, literally, front seat. 17 years old. I'm driving this man's Bentley around downtown Houston. Steve's passed out in the passenger seat, sleep. I was uber black before uber black. I mean, picture me. I'm from the 4700 block of Tidewater Drive, the TWT, driving the Benny. I'm rolling with the windows down like, y'all see me, baby? It still doesn't feel real to me. Do you understand how much that meant to me? Not driving the Bentley, I mean. That was cool. Yeah, that was fun. But what meant the world to me was this NFL legend, this MVP, this good man calling me son. That's Steve McNair and Vince Young. It says, now I told you this story was not about Vince Young. Texas, UT, all the glitz and glory, that's Vince Young. That's VY. That's just me on my playground. I'll never forget my mama dropping me off at just the dorm my freshman year and saying, this is your life now, son. What are you about to do? I mean, the opportunity to be in college in a stable environment, playing for UT with all of my brothers in front of 100,000 people. What I'm about to do, I'm about to go off. I'm about to whoop Texas Tech's ass. Whoop OU's ass. Whip Ohio State's. For sure, whip A&M's. Yup. Whoever is lining up across from us. Sometimes when I'm back in Texas, people come up to me like, what's up, OG? Man, how come you guys were so electric back in the day? They're looking at me like there was some kind of magic formula or something. I just explained it to people like this. At Texas, we didn't just whoop ass. We enjoyed it. There's a difference. It wasn't a job. It wasn't any pressure. It was an opportunity. It was a blessing. Whipping ass, it was fun. It said even the night before the Rose Bowl against USC, we knew the pressure we were supposed to be feeling. We had won a national championship in 36 years. And USC was some ballers, for sure. As a Houstonian, as a Texan, I knew what the moment meant. But we were just some kids having fun, man. Truthfully, it was like some night before Christmas shit. We were excited, man. Me and Selvin Young shared a hotel room like usual. And you know what we did? We did what we always did. We stayed up late eating cereal and watching Looney Tunes. Man, I used to eat so much cereal, I should have had a Fruit Loop sponsorship or something. That goes all the way back to Tidewater, man. My grandmother would not let me touch that TV when The Young and Restless was on. The whole soap opera block, all the way through General Hospital from 11 to 2. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. 11 to 3. I'm trying to eat my after school cereal and watch X-Men, you know. I'm trying to watch my man Bugs Bunny in the Crew. And if I took one step toward that TV, it was Vincent. So being in college and having unlimited milk, unlimited hotel room, hotel TV, come on, bro. It was Fruit Loops all day, baby. That was heaven. That's me, man. That's Bubba. That's Vincent. When the lights came on, and we strap up, when we put the helmet on, when we see McConaughey on the sidelines, when we hear that anthem, now it's VY. Now it's Vince Young. Excuse my French, but now we gonna let our hang on him. The moment everybody remembers Vince Young for is the 4th and 5th touchdown. The moment that Vince remembers, the moment that Bubba from the 4700 block remembers, that's different. You probably wouldn't understand. Maybe it would fall flat for you. Seems like it's nothing. But it was when Pops came down to the field after the game, when we were all out there celebrating. Steve McNair coming out to see me play in the national championship game. After all those years of just my grandma and my mama and my sisters, finally had a dad in the stands to watch me, Pops pushed his way through security and got down on the field, and he just tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Boy, you was a whole different animal today." I'll never forget that until the day I die. Everybody always asks me, "Man, what did you do after that game? You must have been on one, VY." I think McConaughey even threw a party for us, and I remember all my teammates asking me, "What we doing, VY?" And I say, honest to God, "What we doing?" They say, "Yeah, VY." I said, "Do you know what I just did? I just went for the 400. I'm going to sleep." That's all, folks. I went back to my hotel room with my future wife. And after about, let's say 12 good wholesome minutes, I was dreaming, baby. I didn't realize the magnitude of that game until the next day when I was on a plane to LA to go to the Tonight Show. Then on a plane to Vegas. And all of a sudden, I'm standing in front of Jeter and Tiger and MJ. And they're the ones telling me, "Great game." Whirlwind, man. Surreal, man. Nothing can prepare you for that, especially when you're a kid growing up around what I did. Nothing. I hear people talking sometimes like, what the hell happened to Vince Young? What happened with Jeff Fisher? What happened with the Titans? What happened with this dude's career? Well, let me tell it to you like this. And if it don't make no sense to you, don't worry about it. Remember that oak tree I was telling you about, the one in my front yard that was shedding all them leaves that I had to rake up because I was being a dumbass, punk-ass little kid? Well, that tree was right outside my bedroom window. Sometimes whenever my mama was having one of her parties and all her friends were coming over, eating all of our food, making all kinds of noise, or whenever I was just too stressed out about whatever was going on at school or whatever was going on in the streets, I would climb out my window and sit up in that tree. Yeah, man, simple as that. I sit up there above everybody else, above the front yard, above the block, above the neighborhood, above the arguing and the fighting and the noise, and I just think and dream. Sometimes my mama would be walking in the yard right below me, yelling out, "Vincent, Vince, where you at?" I'd be up in my tree, man, at peace, dreaming about what I could be, dreaming about it just being different. You know what I saw? I know what you probably think I saw, but nah, it wasn't me being the NFL quarterback. It wasn't me playing for UT. It wasn't me driving a Bentley. All that is cool. I did that. I lived that. But nah, that wasn't what I would think about up there in that tree. I would see my family, all of us, just being in different situations, being able to live a different lifestyle. No more syrup sandwiches. No more lights cutting out. It wasn't anything to do with football, really. It was just about being at peace. So what the hell happened to Vince Young? Well, I don't know. Sometimes it seems like that life was a million years ago. And when I was still an NFL quarterback, it really does. Like, was that really me? Did that really happen in this lifetime? Jeff Fisher, Bud Adams, the mistakes I made, the mistakes they made, we could talk about it all day. And I don't think I convince anybody to think any differently than they do now. You see Vince Young the way you see Vince Young. The NFL is not fun in the same way that playing with your boys in high school is fun. It's not fun in the same way college is fun. It's not the playground anymore. Maybe it's not supposed to be. Fact is, I had a hard time finding the same joy in the game when I got to the NFL. And just as a human being, I never really saw the game the same after Pops died in 2009. What people don't understand is that I didn't just lose a mentor or a friend, I lost a father. Heroes are not supposed to die. And I still miss the shit out of you every to this day, Pops. There's a hole that's never going to go away. So what the hell happened to Vince Young? But as far as Vincent Young goes, as far as Bubba goes, as far as Baby Boy goes, I'm not taking any of those NFL memories to my deathbed. I'm taking February 2006 to my deathbed. New York City. That was a few moments before the NFL draft, and I didn't know where I was going to get picked. There was a whole lot of uncertainty, a lot of stress, like I said, whirlwind. My whole family is out there in New York City with me, and we were coming back from dinner, driving through Central Park, and it started snowing really heavy. Being from Texas, we were just in awe. Whenever you see Manhattan at night with the snow coming down, you feel like you're in the movies. At least we did. So I told the limo driver to pull over. I'm like, everybody out. We come climbing out of this white limo in the middle of Central Park, running around in the snow. My sisters are making snow angels. We're throwing snowballs at one another. Granny gets one right in the back. Whop. She's laughing. She's coming to whoop my ass, though. We're all laughing. It's all good. It's all going to be all right. Snow's coming down in New York City. There's nothing to worry about for a minute. Look at us, man. We're just at peace. That's what I used to dream about when I was up in that tree, looking out over my neighborhood. So, what in the hell happened to Vince Young? I don't know. You tell me. I know what happened to Vincent from the 4700 block of Tidewater Drive. He slept in front of the door. He sat up in the tree. He visualized it. He made it happen. He protected his family. He got him out. So that's it. So yeah, he wrote that. That's it. That is it. So um that was beautiful. That was beautiful. In my opinion, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. He admitted he made his mistakes, but this is not all on him. This is not all on him. One of the things that was coming to mind, and I was reading about this, is how he said it wasn't fun for him. And he like, maybe it wasn't supposed to be. And I thought about what Shedeur said early last week. He could be having some more fun because they're not making it fun for them. I told you this about making their life hell. See, you don't have to be one of the guys that did something wrong or messed up or made a mistake. When people make mistakes at 21, 22, even 23, they know you're young, your frontal lobe not fully developed. They're compassionate. They give you another opportunity. But it seemed like all Jeff Fisher wanted to do was get rid of and move or bench Vince Young and get him out the way because that's not what he preferred. He wanted a pure pocket passer in his USC alum, Matt Leinart, and he pitched a fit through his attitude towards Vince Young and his poor treatment of Vince Young. But that's not fair to Vince Young because what? The owner told everybody, forget what y'all want. This is who I'm getting. But he didn't protect him. Sure, in 2011, he fired Jeff Fisher, but this was 2006 when he got there. He made this young man who grew up without his father, who looked up to Steve McNair. And what did they do before Steve McNair got there? Shipped him off. Now, how is that for trying to develop the young man? He grew up without a father. Steve McNair became his pops at 16. So when he hits Tennessee at 21, you move his pops out, making it harder for them to relate. You do everything in your power as the head coach to stuff him into your system rather than you changing to the type of coach the owner went and got. And the owner didn't protect Vince Young. 2011 is too late to fire Jeff Fisher. Yes, he was singled out. Yes, he was immature, but so are a lot of other people. And that was the point. Other people were also mature, but they didn't get singled out like Vince Young. See, when you're a quarterback, they put the weight of their politics on your shoulder. You got to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, they hang something around your neck. And here's the thing. What the hell does perfection look like? Ask them, because they think they the ones that decide how you got to move and what perfect look like to them. Because if you wear your hat backwards and Jackson Dart wear his hat backwards, they don't say nothing about him. But they defame you and devalue you in the draft. And if you want to play football, just like Vince Young had a passion before the game, before the NFL, it might be hard for you. This might be a rude awakening that you chose to be a quarterback, a black quarterback, something they don't want you to be. And you got to sit down and look at the history like we're doing. Going back to Doug Williams, and maybe you'll see a similarity in his public humiliation. And then maybe look at Warren Moon and see why he had to go to Canada. And maybe it'll make sense. And maybe you'll start to realize you being discriminated against. Just like Warren Moon was, because they thought that you were intellectually inferior at the time. And it seems like in 2021, they still thought that. So we got to put Vince Young in here on the timeline. And we starting to fill up with examples of how people were treated. And we see that as it becomes more and more obvious when you learn the history of black quarterbacks in the NFL, that what happened to Shedeur is commonplace. It was just in front of 7.3 million people. And in my opinion, in my time of watching this, it was the most extreme case. See, Lamar Jackson did get pushed down, but he was still in the first round. Why? Because somebody stopped his slide. A black GM on the way out. Which is why people say Mike Tomlin has lost his voice. He did. And I saw something today said that he got a new quarterback. 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how true that is. I didn't have time to look into it. It could be one of them AI videos. I don't really know. But the problem is there's a pattern of racism and discrimination and making these black quarterbacks' lives hell. We want what we want. And if we don't get it, we're going to try to force you into the box. And if you have a problem with it, we're going to label you mentally unstable. Why would the owners allow them to break their investment? That doesn't make any sense. It's almost like they went and got him to destroy him, to move him out the way. Because 2011 is too late to get rid of Jeff Fisher. And if it was 2010, the very next year, they got rid of Vince Young. That sounds like some lawsuit type behavior to me. I got to get rid of you and you. That's usually how it goes. Somebody got to go. So it's disappointing. Yes, he was young. Yes, he was immature. But one thing I realized, it's funny how he had stability at UT and he had stability at UT after his career. But all of the turmoil came right there from the Titans. And by the time he went to Philly and any other team, he was already tainted. And they cut him every preseason, which to me, they tried to make him look like he was the problem. When the owner didn't protect him from I guess you could say, a mentally outdated coach. There is no way you're not going to tell me that with Vince Young being as bright of a star as he was, that what they did to him, trying to take him off of his pedestal as a dual threat quarterback and force him into a box as a pure pocket passer that they didn't want. Hint, hint. That the owner couldn't step in and say, hell no, you're not about to ruin my investment. Just like the NFL could have stepped in about Shedeur. But the NFL is the one that sent out Shedeur Sanders' phone number to 2,000 people. So now you have to ask, why did Tennessee draft Vince Young, knowing he was a pure pocket passer and a champion as a dual threat quarterback, and allow Jeff Fisher to try to break him into a pure pocket passer, something that's supposed to be outdated? All right. So Vince Young said, no, he was immature. He made mistakes. But I said, there's no way his relationship, and I didn't even know it went back till he was 16. His relationship with Steve McNair, there is no way. There's no way he's not affected by that. And it just seemed like they just kept piling on and not treating him with compassion, but treating him like an investment. But if he was treated like an investment, the Tennessee Titans leadership would have never, ever allowed Jeff Fisher to try to break Vince Young because he wasn't his preference. And Matt Leinart and his USC alum was, because he's a pro-style pocket passer, as if at that time, since we already had Michael Vick for a couple of years, they didn't know what a dual threat quarterback was and clearly didn't consider it a pro-style quarterback. Jeff Fisher should have been dismissed before the season. The moment he started trying to force this young man and break him down to a pure pocket passer after he's more evolved, rather than the coach evolving or getting the hell on, I blame the Titans. I blame the Titan ownership. You forced him there, and you knew what they was going to do to him. And if you didn't, you let it happen. So it's not, he immature. It's a lot of immature people in the NFL. A lot of people under the age of 25 make mistakes because their frontal lobe is not fully developed, and that's where the good decision-making come from. It's not 100% there. And you should know that when you're dealing with people. But they didn't treat him with compassion. Yeah, he probably went into a clinical depression because of the racism and discrimination that he dealt with, because he probably asked himself 100 times, why the hell did they draft me here if they didn't want a dual threat quarterback? And why, if the owner gave me his phone number and I'm the only one with it, is he letting them say that I'm spoiled? He letting them say that I'm pampered, and he letting them break me down to a pocket passer when I'm more evolved than that, which is what they came and got me for. That's a problem. That is a problem. This young man is back in Austin. Life fine. And I think he with the same woman he was with that night. And that tells you a lot about him. After the Rose Bowl, if they asked what he was going to do, he went hang out with his lady, the one he might be still married to. And I saw him what looked like a son. And after Steve McNair died, he continued Steve McNair's traditions of bringing Steve McNair's sons to the practices, to the locker room. And I told y'all, Shedeur knew these people. This go all the way back. This is proof right here. He was not a stranger to them, and they stabbed him in his back. Just like they did Vince Young. No, yes, he's immature. Yes, he came from a rough background. But it's funny how they have compassion for other people when they going through something. They had more compassion for Justin Tucker than they had for Vince Young. It's no way around this. It's documented. People said this was racism. This is exactly what it was, because they didn't treat other people that way. And for the ownership to allow it to happen, it makes you question their motive for going to get him in the first place. Because that's what they want. They want to get people. See, maybe he went to get Vince Young because he knew that Vince Young didn't have a father and he could control him. Maybe that's why they went and got him. Because it surely wasn't so he could go be great. Because clearly they let Jeff Fisher try to break him. And somebody should have sued him. Because he had an attitude when they didn't want to hire his son on the coaching staff. Okay, you want too much of what you want. This ain't your team. He sound like a butthole. Jerry said, hey, how you doing? How you doing? When players' parents have problems, but you never hear their hard life. Yeah. T-Rod, it's funny. They love to take the black players who probably went through something like Vince Young and reading that. And I hope most of y'all stayed for that. That was so interesting. That was so much insight into how he grew up, why he was probably immature, because he didn't have a man in the house to help him develop until who came along? Steve McNair. And then he goes to the same team that Steve McNair to, and they kick Steve McNair out. Why they didn't leave Steve McNair there? Because it is said before Steve McNair got traded that Jeff Fisher already broke him down from Air McNair to handoff McNair. See, Jeff Fisher was problematic, and they let him stay there and cause problems. And that's probably why they got rid of Vince Young before he realized he was too young to realize he should have turned around and sued their ass. Because that's all kind of malpractice. How you going to go get a dual threat quarterback and want to break him down to a pure pocket passer? That sounds ridiculous. And to me, the NFL uses anything to break down these black quarterbacks. And if they don't come from a situation like Vince Young's, where they can basically tell the media everything negative about them so the media can keep asking them about it over and over and over, people are saying, you know, they're talking about Travis Hunter's situation with his dad more than they're talking about Travis Hunter. See, Travis is now starting to find out. Cam Ward gonna find out too. He gonna find out too as soon as they finish with all their little documentaries. So yeah, and here's the thing: when people say this happens, no, it does not happen to white players. They don't treat white players like this. You would think white people don't have no problem. If you look at the NFL, oh, I'm sorry, Johnny Manziel, and he still got to play. He still got drafted. And that's what I mean. They want these black players to be submissive and perfect. You got to be submissive and you can't mess up at all, or I'm going to lash you. That's what it is. That's why these guys have got to start their own league. That is what is coming out of what happened with Shedeur. Shedeur checked all the boxes. And they still ostracized him. And when you read Vince Young's story, now that you see, you got to keep an eye out for Shedeur. You do. You have to keep an eye out for Shedeur now because, I mean, God darn. Are they going to try to make him into something he's not? Because he was forced to go there? Is it because maybe they don't want him, so they mistreat him behind the scenes? So, yeah, I'm glad we did Vince Young tonight and not last week. So we could see. I saw Kevin Stefanski on that ESPN, the Cleveland podcast, saying wonderful things about Shedeur. It's still walking it back. But the question is, do the actions and the words match? Or is that for optics? When people say, it's not racism what happened to Shedeur because Cam Ward went first, optics. Just like Ben Roethlisberger, they didn't suspend him the first time he filed that lawsuit, settled that lawsuit. The second complaint he got smacked on the hand with only 4 games suspension. Optics. Full of optics, full of cover-ups, full of secrets, full of buck breaking, because that's all it is. Oh, let me get this great black guy right here and break him down to nothing and put him in a system where they got a pure pocket passer. That makes no sense. Maybe he didn't go to the Titans because they like dual threat quarterbacks. And maybe that's why the Titans intentionally passed on it. So he could go to a team. And so the owner can, according to the stories, do what he want to do. And send him somewhere where he know Jeff. You don't think the owner knew who Jeff Fisher was? He was the coach for 16 years. He knew exactly how Jeff Fisher worked. So when Jeff Fisher already had a pocket passing system, wanted to get Matt Leinart and didn't, why didn't the owner come down there and say, if you don't start running a dual threat system or the offense that fits him, then guess the hell what? You out. But that's not what they did. He gave him Vince Young number, which made him feel good, but then he treated him like, it's like he abandoned him. Because why you don't fire Jeff Fisher a long time ago? I don't like that. That looks like they set Vince Young up to break him down. The same way they took Caleb Williams, who was a generational talent, dual threat quarterback, and had him sacked 68 times. Same thing for Bryce Young. The same way they treated Justin Fields. Same way they treated Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure I read something that after Lamar Jackson got to Baltimore, they was trying to turn him into a pocket passer. I swear I read that somewhere. Because I remember thinking, that's crazy. And here it is with Vince Young, and this is 2006. This man just won a Super Bowl, so you want to take him off his pedestal. And you want him to leave everything he learned at the door, and you want him to become a pocket passer? And here we are in 2025. They claim they don't want you to do it because he a pocket passer. But then they draft Jackson Dart and Tyler Shaw as pocket passers. So they say whatever to these black quarterbacks so they can do whatever they want to do. That's why these guys got to start their own league. Coach Prime has to start her own league. Nobody else going to be able to get it done. I mean, maybe somebody with some really, really deep pockets, but Coach Prime don't even need that. Because wherever he go, we go too. I'm like, I don't, and I think they don't know the history. They probably don't even want to know the history. See, sometimes when you want to do something, you have to put on tunnel glasses and you have to block out everything so you can get to your goal. But what are you sacrificing? Yourself. So Vince Young's story turns out, the syrup sandwich was a part of his story. And they do like players like that because they feel like they can control him. And maybe that's why the owner gave him his number, because he wanted to get in his, make him feel comfortable. But see, what he did was, Vince Young grew up without a father. And if you notice, a lot of the things that meant anything to him was about Steve McNair being his pops. That's why I knew that I wondered how they treated him after Steve McNair died, as if it was just another day. I really did. I went and looked at his stats and everything. I wanted to see a pattern because I know he had to be deeply affected, because look how he grew up. He longed for a father, then he had one, then he lost him, and they shipped him off. There's no reason why Steve McNair could still not be in Tennessee when Vince Young got there if they wanted Vince Young to be developed. But they didn't want Steve McNair to be there, and they broke him down first. This does not happen to white quarterbacks. If they are pocket passers, just like we saw in 2025, it's cool. But Shedeur gets devalued. That's the excuse they use to devalue him. Just like they said Vince Young was spoiled and pampered, they said Shedeur Sanders was entitled. It's the same thing. Trying to defame these guys, tarnish their reputation by making people think he's mentally unstable. So when he go to these other teams and he sneezed too hard, oh, he cut before the season. That's probably just optics. Just more optics to keep themselves from being sued. Because to me, the way they got rid of Fisher and then turned around and got rid of Vince Young, it looked like somebody was going to get sued. So I got to get rid of both of y'all. And that's what they did. Then he went preseason to let it just make it look like it's him. That's what corporations do. The NFL is a corporation. They don't want to be sued. Not by a player claiming racism. When has that happened? A football player, a quarterback, when has a quarterback ever filed racism? We know that a coach said it was racism. We know that. We know Trotter, I think, was he a reporter? When has a black NFL quarterback filed for racial discrimination? And all the racial discrimination we talked about, I don't know of any. I might have to go do some research. So I'm going to read these comments and see what y'all think about what was taking place. I'm going to go back up to the top and we're going to work our way through. Hey, Charlotte. Vince Young was drafted by Tennessee as Bud Adams' middle finger to Houston. Oh, okay. Oh, okay, because he left. Okay, thank you. Jackie. So maybe it wasn't about Vince Young as a person. That might actually shed some light. They didn't give a damn who he was. He was just trying to prove a point to Houston. Okay, thank you for that. Precision, thank you. Jackie, how you doing? It said Jeff Fisher never wanted him, right? And it made it known. And I don't know why he wasn't fired. It seemed like the owner got Vince Young for the wrong reasons. Like you say, to be a middle finger to the Texans. He was the owner's pick, right? But it sounded like he was the owner's pick just to piss off the Texans, though, which is why they didn't give a damn if he was a dual threat and how he was being broken down by Jeff Fisher. And I don't like that. How you doing, Gracie? Hey, Eric Jackson, how you doing? Peace, family, Kiel. Tina, how you doing? It said they want to earn profits off of the black QBs, sweat equity, but keep their performance at a level that doesn't break the records of their white predecessors, illustrating the black QBs with a dirty, paintbrush, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, Tuna, how you doing? Make it make sense. Yes, Elijah. Make it make sense. I really believe what Contextual just said, that Vince Young was drafted for ulterior motives. And what did he say about Steve McNair as to why he liked him? He had no ulterior motive. This is why the NFL was not fun to him. Because I know he asked himself over and over, why did they draft me and put me here? Give me the owner's phone number and leave me to rot with somebody who want to destroy me. I know he did, because it was about the Texans. And the Texans were crazy for not getting Vince Young. People said that. The Texans were crazy. They didn't think he would turn into a pro quarterback. Hell, they might have had a hand in it. I don't know. The way these teams collude, it's not new. Just because someone is racist doesn't mean they won't use someone they don't like for the benefit of profit. Exactly. Exactly. They're definitely using them. It's making my mic is making a sound. Okay, I didn't know. Okay, thank you for that. They really did not want black quarterbacks. No, they didn't, Elijah. They really didn't. And the band 9 decades ago tells you that. And everything that they have done since tells you that. It's like they take black quarterbacks, they feel like they have to because people gonna say they racist. The focal point, Hayes, is the racism, right? Yeah, they using them, but see, here's the thing. They don't treat white quarterbacks this way. And this is what everybody's starting to see following Shedeur, because not everybody pays attention at the level of detail that we pay attention. So they just probably was watching the draft and was like, because I think I thought I heard Cam Newton say, oh, that was a one and done situation. That'll never be done. It's almost like he had a wonderful experience in Carolina. And when he left there, they said he wasn't even tradable. And he was a Vince Young QB comp. So is Bryce Underwood coming out of Michigan. Hey, Unity, how you doing? Insinuated inferior cognitive thinking. In other words, cerebral. We should study Coach Prime next as a black QB. We're going to have to put Coach Prime on the list because that's what y'all need to start telling me. Thank you for saying that, Tuna. Who do y'all want to talk about next? So Vince Young goes on the timeline when we are talking about the journeys, the similarities in the journeys. They are definitely the similarities. It started out the same way for Shedeur, and treating him like they didn't want him, and defaming him and carrying over the same entitled trope like they said about Vince Young, and he's pampered and spoiled. That was from his OC. How your OC gonna talk about you like that? Because when they look at black quarterbacks, they're not supposed to have the air of being pampered. What's wrong with being pampered? They expect it of white players because they feel like all white people are riches, which is not the case. This is not the case. That is not the case at all. But that's what they want. That's the reality they want to try to make happen. And like I said earlier, if you tell me the sky is yellow, I'm not going to believe you if I look out there and it's blue. So you can keep saying, you can keep repeating the lie over and over and over. It ain't going to make it true. It's not going to make it true. Saying Shedeur is entitled when we have seen Shedeur since he was knee-high to a damn duck. We know that he's not entitled. But now that we know y'all said Vince Young was spoiled and pampered, which meant you saying he entitled to something. He's spoiled, entitled, same thing. They probably synonyms if you look it up. It's the same thing, and look how long ago that was. And for them to treat Shedeur like that, they have been doing this. So who are we going to study next? Let me know in the comments who we're going to study next. Hey, Gracie, it said Dante Culpepper, QB for the Vikings, should be next. Okay, Tuna, let's see what else everybody say. Character assassinations. Yes, Salafi, that's exactly what it is. I think these black QBs, these guys need to have a civil rights hired by the league to investigate. What? Need to have an NFL civil rights hired by the league? No, the league can't investigate themselves. The league cannot investigate themselves at all. In fact, the ACLU needs to step in because this is ridiculous. This is a violation of civil rights repeatedly. Repeatedly. And all we are doing right now is filling in the gaps. I think the black players need to hire a civil rights league, a lawyer to protect black players because they don't have anyone protecting black players against NFL owners. I agree with that. I agree with that, T-Rod. I'm telling you, I say reach out to the ACLU and find out if they can run wing on this thing because it's needed. It's definitely needed. It's definitely needed. To start off and read about Vince Young and to see Shedeur, that's the same way it started with him. Hey, what she said? Oh, how you doing, Crowley? How you doing? How you doing? I agree with you, T-Rod. Well, the problem with that is those who don't believe racism is present will debunk the need for such protection because we're not asking them for permission. We're not in that stage. We're not asking them for permission. I'm 5 minutes from calling the ACLU of Georgia. I have no problem with it. Matter of fact, I've already looked it up. I'm one step away because I've been doing the research. This is egregious. This goes back to Doug Williams. Hell, we started with Doug Williams. It's probably somebody before him. And Shedeur's situation starts off just like Vince Young being forced. I don't want you. We saw that already. I told y'all we need to keep an eye on Cleveland. I wasn't playing. That's why I wanted him traded to somewhere else and not the Saints. They don't care about destroying these guys' mental, their career, their person, their psyche, their lives, their livelihoods. Look at it, Michael Vick. I went back and looked. That first signing bonus he got for $7,500 in 2001 is the one they came back for in 2007. Who does that? Who does that? And then when you didn't get all of it, you sued him for it and settled. And then what did you do? You sold off the settlement so somebody else can get it so it don't look like you getting it. Now it makes you think they did this intentionally. And yes, he was wrong. But so was Ben Roethlisberger. So was Brett Favre, who's in the Hall of Fame. And they have arguments every day about Ben Roethlisberger. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? I'm like, last I checked, violence against women is not legal. Why did he still have a job and got to keep playing? Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? I don't like how the media is highlighting Travis Hunter's dad's mistakes more than them celebrating his accomplishments. Oh, I haven't heard that, but thank you, T-Rod. It would surprise me. It's happening. Are you in Jacksonville? Are you talking about local Jacksonville media? Or are you talking about sports media, YouTube, podcasters? Let me know. It was allegedly that Peyton Manning abused a girl in college. You never heard about that. Speaking of, somebody sent me a story. Was it Tina or Charlotte? Let's see. Somebody sent me a story. Here it is right here. Charlotte, I was already looking into it. Okay, so apparently, y'all remember Colorado played BYU, right? And I'm gonna have to use the word allegedly here. The quarterback, Retzlaff, from BYU, remember the Alamo Bowl, got hit with a civil lawsuit like Deshaun Watson, but it was way more descriptive. Essay, right? Choking, this, that, and the other, biting, all of that. And of course, his lawyers say he ain't do it. But it's a Salt Lake City woman. I think this was in 2023. And now that's the thing. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I have to look into it. So, Charlotte, you asked me a question. I'm going to have to look into it and see. I had, because I appreciate y'all sending me all this insight because it is good. But no, my inbox is full, so I'm just having to go through it and respond to y'all. So I appreciate it. And I was looking at that early today, but I was trying to finish up my Vince Young due diligence, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I ran into what I believe was written by him in the first person about who he is. Hey, Michael Smith, how you doing? Vince was my guy. He definitely had a rough life. He was very close to McNair. Yes, that's what I was reading. If y'all are just now joining, you definitely gonna want to watch the replay when we get off of the live stream. I read something written in the first person, seemingly by Vince Young, about his life, and I read the whole thing. So y'all have to go. It looked like it was written in 2020, so y'all have to go back and look at the replay. Drop me some comments after you read it. I actually want to cry at some point. I was getting a little choked up because I didn't read all of it before I went live. I read enough of it to know that I wanted to share it. Bishon goes back to Austin and never have to pay for nothing. They rolled out the red carpet, right? Which was crazy that the Texans did not take him. Because I'm thinking, well, maybe the Texans weren't around at the time. Then I had to think. I'm like, wait a minute. Then I'm looking at the TV. I actually watched that Rose Bowl game that he played in, that 4th and 5th. And I like how transparent he was. And he said he was scared too. But because of everything that Vince had been through, he had no fear. You in a house and people shooting and you got to duck and dodge. I mean, you know, if you gonna survive that, you gonna call a 4th and 5th and get it done. And what I heard them say about him was so much like Shedeur. Oh, he's a transformative QB. Shedeur is a transformative QB. This is bad. This is ACLU civil rights violation bad. It is. It is. This is not anything for one person to be doing. This is bad. And I don't know what we're going to find next, because I was shocked what we found with Tyrod Taylor. So who's next? Let's see who's next. Yes, Steve was a good dude. Yep. Yes, Steve was a good guy. Regina, thank you. Thank you for that. Gracie, thank y'all so much. Yeah, hit the like button for me. We close 55:48. We close. Just take a minute and hit the like button so the algorithm, we can satisfy the algorithm. Thank you so much. It said greatest college football game. Yep, they said Vince Young, Cam Newton said Vince Young was the greatest college football quarterback ever. I think he's right. I think he's right. I watched that game. He was fearless, but it was because of everything he had been through. He didn't have no fear after that. This was fun. And when he said he lost his passion for the game, when he said he died, his memory is not of the NFL. What is it of? He said he misses Steve McNair. This man was his pops from he was 16. That's 5 years to 21 in the league. And then until he died. That's a minute to be in somebody's life and to be that integral. And mind you, he always longed for a father because his was not there. And then he gets Steve McNair. He actually, and here's the thing, he was at Steve McNair camp. I don't know if when Vince was 16, maybe I could ask him, did he think he was going to end up at UT playing in the Rose Bowl and end up on the same team as his pops? And they sent Steve McNair away. That's ugly. If it wasn't a salary cap issue, but the point is, even if it was, it's not a surprise. Because why? Jeff Fisher had already reduced Air McNair to hand off McNair. He had already reduced Steve McNair. These guys got to deal with a lot just to play the game that they love. And when they don't love it no more, that's why Vince was just in and out. And he actually tried to play again in like the UFL or whatever. But it seemed like after Steve McNair died, he just lost it. Not his mind, but his passion for the game and then everything he had to deal with at the hands of Jeff Fisher and the Tennessee Titans, treating him like an investment and not like a person, not protecting him like he's an investment, though. Treating him like he was a slave. I came and got you, so this is what it's going to be, and whatever Jeff Fisher say, go. Oh, the hell no. I would have sued somebody back then, but see, you had to have enough about your life to know, one, what you're going through. He figured out that he was being singled out. I don't know if he ever would use the word racism. Maybe not, because like he said, I made mistakes. We all make mistakes. But nobody deserves to be discriminated against, singled out, and made to feel worthless because somebody didn't get their choice of their alma mater's QB in Matt Leinart. And that's what happened. That's ugly. Marlon says Steve McNair was hell playing against him. Grambling versus Alcorn State and playing for my coach. Rest in peace, Coach Eddie Robinson. It said that was a hell of a game against UT and USC. I remember that was awesome. Yeah. And then did y'all know? Y'all remember Reggie Bush had his, they took back his Heisman. Guess who they tried to give it to? Vince Young. And he said, no, thank you. You know what he said? He said, that's Reggie Bush's Heisman. You see how they try to turn black people against each other? All the people you want to give it to Vince Young. Why? If you wanted Vince Young to have it, you should have gave it to him first. But because you take it back from Reggie Bush, you don't want to give it to a white guy, put him in that position to look like he don't have no soul. You want Vince Young. You wanted to sting Reggie to give it to another black man. Ooh, fellas, y'all have got to start your own league. This is too much. This is too much. This is a couple of $1 billion too much. Vince Young paid for everybody in his family. He did, but he didn't know how to deal with money. He didn't know how to deal with money. But one thing that stands out to me that's glaring, he came from UT with no problems, and it was only in the NFL, and he back at UT with no problems. He on their coaching staff. That's the NFL. That's how you know the NFL is problematic. He didn't know how to deal with that. A lot of people don't know how to deal with it. Hell, some people actually do end their life because they feel trapped. But for a man who was already abandoned by his father, or fatherless, however you want to say it, to come along and have Steve McNair, and Steve McNair is right there in Tennessee, and he go to Tennessee after they skip his hometown of Houston. He go to Tennessee and they ship McNair off. You don't think they knew they was gonna draft Vince Young at some point? The owners wasn't colluding this time. That would be new. That would be new, because 2025 ain't the first time they colluded. It goes back to 1934. Vince refused to lose that game. It sure was a great game. I watched it today. What happened to Vince Young? The exact same thing that they are trying to do with Shedeur. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jesus, preschooling, what's that say? It looked like it say Jesus. Sweet Pea, how you doing? Vince Young was too active in Houston. Sometimes it's best to leave home. Hometown friends can be a distraction. I agree with that. But that don't mean that your employers have the right to try to break you down and put you in a box. I don't understand why any company at all would go get a person that has a skill set that they don't, that's not their methodology. That don't make no sense to me. It seemed like they went and got him and broke him down intentionally so he would not go to the league. Because he surely could have went to a team that had what? Hell, he could have went as a backup to Philadelphia off the rip. Because he eventually ended up as a backup to Michael Vick. So why didn't they just send him there? Because clearly they don't have a problem in Philadelphia with dual threat quarterbacks. Shit, they got Jalen Hurts to this day. But when they drafted him in the second round, they put him behind whoever was the starter. And that person had to get hurt, and they were hard as hell on Jalen. They sure were to this day. That's why they talking about his facial expression don't change. That man is protecting his peace from y'all, as he should. Because if Vince Young had that enough fortitude to understand what was going on in his life, he would have did it too. But he was young and fatherless and didn't have that kind of guidance. And yeah, he had Steve McNair, but I don't know if they even, I'm sure they talked about those types of things. But at some point, he did not have Steve McNair. And to me, that's when it just didn't matter, because the person that meant so much to him, and I would love to ask him a question, and I might find him and DM him and ask him, hey, when you went to Steve McNair's camp at 16, did you ever think you really would be in the NFL playing on the same team as your pops? I would love to ask him that question. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tuna. Great job. Thank you. That was beautiful. Thank you, Regina. I saw Vince Young at Lowe's not long ago. He still got it. I bet he does, because it's raw, natural talent. And instead of cultivating it and developing it, they wanted to destroy it or bench it for 3 years, talking about he need 3 years to get better. He just won a goddamn Rose Bowl. And the NFL wants to put itself up here so bad. But the mediocre talent that they like to overpay for is just not there. These black QBs, what did I tell y'all yesterday? I said when a quarterback is black and makes it from college to the NFL, he is NFL ready, because he has to be. They pick them over so much. You got to be perfect. And then when you get in and you NFL ready like Shedeur, they want to put you damn near off the depth chart at number 5. Because they don't want to see these guys ball out. And the sooner people understand that, they will understand what is happening and what has been happening. And this is not just about Shedeur. Reading Vince Young's story, I think, is disgusting, because it doesn't make any sense for the owners to go and get him and send him to Tennessee, who wanted a pure pocket passer and never put a system in place for a dual threat quarterback. It makes me feel like what Contextual said. They drafted Vince Young to Tennessee because they was pissed off by Houston. That's what it looked like. And that's wrong to play with somebody's career like that. They would never do that to Archie Manning. In fact, there's an argument going on right now. Is Archie Manning going to the Browns? I'm like, last I checked, the man is run the Giants. And although he didn't go to Ole Miss, he's the grandson of the namesake Archie Manning. Now, if he wanted to go to Cleveland, he could go to Cleveland because he chose to go to UT because I'm sure they had ideas. I'm sure they had ideas. But I don't see Cleveland being a beneficiary that if that's not what he wants and that's not what his granddaddy wants. And I think even his daddy knows his granddaddy going to make that decision. Tennessee Titans is terrible. Yeah, yes, Lord. Cam, Lord have mercy. Ooh, we talking about we got to watch Shedeur, Lord have mercy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Vince Young party, there is no evidence of Shedeur doing that. I mean, listen here. And that might be the case because he's young. That he's young. But at the same time, that still does not mean a person has the right to treat you like they don't want you because they want somebody else. That person should have been fired, or they should have never drafted him. They should have let him go to a team like Philadelphia who has absolutely no problem. Why didn't they let him go to a team who wanted to do a threat? Because clearly Jeff Fisher was old school with him. Like, I don't want to change. I want a pro-style pocket passer. He don't respect dual threat quarterbacks if he prefer to a pocket passer as pro-style, and he can't even say dual threat. He didn't want, and he treated that man like he didn't want him. You don't think that man felt abandoned as a young person? That's probably why he was wigging out. Because he feeling abandoned all over again, but the man standing in his face, and this is his job. That's why he said it wasn't fun for him. Shedeur just said, I could be having more fun. Cam Newton just posted, Shedeur is finally having fun. You see? This shit can wear on you. Sweet pea, thank you for that. Yes, there is no evil in it, but the NFL was demeaning them as if it is evil. No, it's definitely evil. Oh, no, it's definitely evil. But what they did to Vince Young, either drafting him because they just wanted to shoot the bird to the Titans, because he showed the Texans, he showed him fit in a system, and the owners didn't make Jeff Fisher create a system for him, but made him feel loved by giving him their phone number and then using that relationship to say that he's pampered and spoiled, which is nothing but entitled. He wasn't protected from them. So no, it's definitely evil. Shedeur just watch film and play that game. And he played with the Cleveland Browns. I wonder if he still play with them. He might. This episode showcases sisterly and brotherly love. Yes, it does. Control the strings on the puppet. Yeah, that's why they got him so they don't leave. This is crazy. They did do that to destroy Vince Young. They seem like it. It's the only thing that makes sense, because it doesn't make sense that you wanted him to be successful for your franchise, that you would allow Jeff Fisher to try to break him down into a pure pocket passer when you knew he was a champion as a dual threat. That's why I do believe that this was about flipping off Houston. It makes sense. The other way don't make sense. How do you treat somebody like they're a pure investment, but you let your coach, who refuses to change his ways to get the hell on, ruin your investment and break it? That don't make sense. So that's foul. Actually, that's not true. When you do take a job, there are a lot of people who have jobs and they good. I read about Dante Culpepper. They say he was 11 years and I ain't see no problems and I ain't looked yet, but I'm going to look. I'm going to look. Y'all say y'all want to do Dante Culpepper next? Is that who y'all want to do next? It's been reported that Roger Goodell granted Bucky unprecedented access to film while with the NFL. That's what people keep saying, but I ain't seen it yet. I have not seen that. All I did hear Kevin Stefanski say, no, Shedeur being popularity. Shedeur's popularity has not been a problem. Why would it ever be a problem? Why would it ever be a problem? Was this something you didn't know how to deal with, so you chose to disrespect it? Who does that? Not grown people who can think critically. In fact, since they embrace I show speed so much, got him out here running routes with Pat Mahomes, how the hell you don't embrace Shedeur Sanders? He's one of you. Maybe they don't look at it like that, though. And that's the problem. These guys think they joining a family. So yeah, hopefully we see some things from Bucky. He said he was taking a week off to spend time with his dad, and that he was gonna get back to work soon. So I don't know. Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know. Okay, so for those of you that are late, we are an hour and 49 minutes. For those of you that are late, please go back and watch the replay. I narrated or read. I guess it's a first person account of Vince Young's life by Vince Young. Looked like it was done in 2020. It was beautiful. Go back and just watch the replay. All right, y'all, we're gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna officially start the weekend. We will be back on Monday with the luncheon stream, but we will be back tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I might try to see if I can find a way to get allowable footage of the UCF game so we can look at it. I know Bucky has it, so I might see if I can get that. And tomorrow night, we just watch some highlights of the UCF game and analyze it. I probably want to do that on Twitch. I might pop up on Twitch later. I got 4 followers. So somebody heard me say, follow me over there. I had 3, now I have 4. So if anybody else has Twitch, what she said, at what she said, just 404 and on Twitch. All right, y'all, we going to get out of here. Dante Culpepper. I'm just going to make it. I think somebody said Dante Culpepper, so we going to get Dante Culpepper next. Great story. I got choked up. Yep, Jackie, me too. What a story. What a man. Thank you. You're welcome. I will see y'all tomorrow night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports.